next video, 10,000 subscribers. You know. So put that in the comments, because in the last video, I put it in my description, and I made the discovery that no one really reads YouTube descriptions. So, if you left a comment, or if you left a question in my last video, thank you, but leave the question in this video. Okay. So for today's video, we have a antique book reading. We're gonna make sounds with it. It'll be a fun time. This was written, I'm not sure what it says, but if you can see that, it says Brazil and the Brazilians. I know this book was made in the 1800s. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. I don't want to wear out. I don't want to wear it out. Okay. Okay, here's like a little thing. Okay, so this came out in 1968. 100 and something years ago. Oh my gosh. Okay. If you can see, like, this is an old book. I probably shouldn't be reading it, I'm gonna put it right here. Okay. Okay. There's this man here. There's a man on the cover. I don't know what that's about. That's, no idea what that is. Possibly the person who wrote the book. Let's find out. Oh my gosh. Oh. So this is a picture of Dom Pedro II, the Emperor of Brazil, born December 7th, 1825. The photo was taken in 1853. Brazil used to have an emperor. I did not know this. Like, the whole thing of emperors and stuff was, I thought, gone. Except for, China in the 1960s, maybe. Oh, that makes good sounds. But we're not gonna. Okay, we're not gonna, mess with the book. Brazil and the Brazilians, portrayed in historical and descriptive sketches by Reverend James C. Fletcher and Reverend D.P. Kinder. 8th edition, and this was made in Boston. Okay. There's a preface. I don't care for prefaces. Okay. So we have here a map of Brazil. Wow. This is really cool. But I have to be very careful with this. Okay, I don't know how to do this. Okay. I can do this. Okay. this right now. I'm gonna try to fold it up and not break it. Okay. Okay. The popular notion of Brazil is to a certain extent delineated in the accompanying side illustrations. Mighty rivers and virgin forests, palm trees and jaguars, anacondas and alligators. Hey, okay. Howling monkeys and screaming parrots, diamond mining, revolutions and earthquakes are the component part of the picture formed in the mind's eye. It is probably hazarding nothing to say that the very large majority are better acquainted with China and India than with Brazil. Here few seem to be aware about the distant southern hemisphere. In a stable constitutional monarchy, it ain't that way anymore. Okay. Alright. I'm gonna keep okay, chapters. Chapter 1, the Bay of Rio de Janeiro. For any of you that don't know, Rio is where you've seen the movie with like the birds, right? The Rio, they go to Disney. It's the one with the Jesus statue. Okay, Discovery South America, attacks on the French. Wow, this is really history of Sao Paulo. It was called San Paulo back then, I guess. Okay, I'm actually really excited. I'm actually really excited for this. Okay. The Bay of Rio. Okay, so this is an illustration of the Bay of Rio. The entrance to the Bay of Rio. Ships being dismantled. Okay. The Bay of Naples, the Golden Horn of Constantinople, and the Bay of Rio are always mentioned by the traveled tourists as preeminently worthy to be classed together for their extent and for the beauty and sublimity of their scenery. The first two, however, must yield the palm to the last named magnificent sheet of water, which in the climate of perpetual summer is enclosed with the range of singularly picturesque mountains. That's so so the writer in this is saying this is the most beautiful place he's ever seen. I don't know, sometimes English is hard to understand, especially when it's said like this. Especially as a lot of you, the English is not your first language, so, you know. And it talks about the constant summer in Rio. I've never been to Rio personally. I have a little story actually for this. I'm gonna do a little bookmark here. Okay. So. Oh man. This is gonna be a long video, but honestly, I'm really happy to be doing this. Okay. So, why I haven't been to Rio, even though I am a Brazilian, right? My dad, when he was going to get his visa, he went to the U.S. Embassy in Rio, and this book is helping me understand kind of why Rio was like is the American perception of of Brazil, because that's where like the travelers went first, and they're like, oh my gosh, this place is beautiful. We gotta tell other people about it, right? Anyway, my dad went to Rio when he was a young man to get his visa to come to America and study. And when he was there, like when he was in a van driving there, there was a shootout happening between a local gang and the police. So he was in the van, and he went through the fire, being shot at from both sides. And Rio was a notoriously dangerous place, simply because of like the gross. I don't mean gross as in disgusting. I mean gross as in like huge, huge difference in the income of the tourists and the people that live there. I'll give you some perspective on this. $1 American, the US dollar, is worth 5 of reais, which is the Brazilian currency, right? So it's very opportunistic to be a thief in Rio, I would think. Let's get back to it. Okay. Okay. He who is in Switzerland has gazed. Oh my gosh, this is bad. Has gazed from the Quai of Vevey, or from the windows of the old castle of Schillion, upon the grand panorama of the upper end of the Lake of Geneva, can have an idea of the general view of the Bay of Rio de Janeiro. And there was much truth and beauty in the remark of the Swiss, who, looking for the first time on the native splendor of the Brazilian Bay and its circlet of mountains, exclaimed, "Cest felti meridional." That's French. I don't speak French. It translates to it is the southern Switzerland. So the Swiss came to Rio and they're like, this is Rio, this is Switzerland, but in the south. Okay. Which I think is kind of funny. What a glorious spectacle must have presented itself to those early navigators, to Solis Magellan and Martin Alfonso de Souza, who were the first Europeans that ever sailed through the narrow portal which constitutes the entrance to Niche 30, which translates to hidden water. I don't know what that is. As these almost landlocked waters were apparently and poetically termed by the Tomoyo Indians, through the mountains and the borders of the bay, which are still richly and luxuriantly clothed. Then all the primeval forest existed and gave a wilder and more striking beauty to the scene so enchanting in a natural point of view. Even after 3 centuries of encroachments of man, de Souza, as the common tradition runs, supposed that he had entered the mouth of a mighty river, rivaling the Orinoco and the Amazon, and named it Rio de Janeiro, which means the River of January. After the happy month, January 1531, in which he made his imagined discovery, whatever may have been the origins of this misnomer. That's interesting. So apparently de Souza, which is the person who apparently discovered South America, or Brazil, saw a river that he thought was as big as the Amazon. Anyway, which is not true. I think Amazon is the biggest river in the world by a pretty significant margin, followed by the Nile, I believe, but correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Whatever may have been the origin of this misnomer, it is not only applied to the large and commodious bay, but to the province in which it is situated, and the populous metropolis of Brazil, which is like a queen upon its bright shores. We all of us know, either by our own experience or by that of others, that is the sight of land to the tempest-tossed voyager when the broad blue circle of sea and sky, which for days and weeks have encompassed his vision, is at length broken by a shore, even though that shore may be bleak and desolate as the ice mountains of the Arctic region. It is invested with a surpassing interest. It is robed in undreamed of charms. What then must be the emotions of one coming from a latitude of stormy winter, beholds around him a land of perpetual summer? Ah, perpetual summer. I quite like Brazil. I am in the western United States now. But like Midwest, and it's cold. It's so cold here. Like perpetual summer from like for the Brazilians, not perpetual summer. You know, like I was talking to my dad, and he lives in Brazil, and he was talking about how it's like really hot there right now because it's summertime, right? It's what month is it? It's March here, right? And it's just spring. Today is spring. Right there is autumn. Or not autumn. The fall. Right. Perpetual summer. It's always summer weather there from the American point of view, or the point of view of a place with more intense seasons. Like, you know, it snows here. It does not snow there. It snows in like the mountainous parts a little bit, but nothing like feet of snow, right? Okay. Let me catch where I was. Okay. In December 1851, when the Hudson and the Pontame were bridged by the Ice King, and the clouds and snow draped over the sky of these lands, our good vessel stood out upon a stormy sea. A few weeks of gales and rolling waves, varied by light winds and calms, brought us to Cape Frio. Cape Cold, interesting. This isolated peak shoots up as steeply as the chalk cliffs of England, as high as the rock of Gibraltar, and is covered to the very summit with verdure. No clouds, as I last behold them in conjunction with terra firma. Don't know what terra firma is. Were frowning over the summer land. The balmiest breezes were blowing, and the palms upon the adjacent hill was gracefully waving above the world of vegetation, so new to me, which gleamed in the warm sunlight. It was in the midst of such a scene that the day, not without evening glories, faded away. The morning was shone clearly, and the lofty mountain range near the entrance to the harbor stood forth, in an outline at once bold, abruptly, and beautiful. The first entrance of any one to the Bay of Rio de Janeiro forms an era in his existence. What an interesting thought. So, in his perception, which I think is accurate, a human can, mark their entrance into Brazil as a point of no return, as a, I mean, you heard what I said, right? I think it's so interesting how like beautifully this is written. Like it's supposed to be it's supposed to be like informative, but it's written in a very like poetic way. Like the person that wrote it wanted it to be read. You know what I'm saying? Not like scholars to pore over it, you know, but from like me right now, like, oh So this is how, there's a quote here. An hour whence he may date thenceforth and forever. Even the dullest observer must afterward cherish sublime reviews of the manifold beauty and the majesty of works of the Creator. I have seen the most rude and ignorant Russian sailor, the immoral and unreflecting Australian adventurer, as well as the cultivated and refined European gentleman. It sounds like someone has a bit of bias. Anyway. Stand silent upon the deck, mutually admiring the gigantic avenue of mountains and palm-covered isles, which, like the grand pillars before the Temple of Luxor, form a fitting colonnade to the port of the finest bay in the world. The finest bay in the world. Okay, Rio. This guy's making me want to come visit Rio. On either side of a contracted entrance, as far as the eye can reach, stretch away the mountains whose pointed and fantastic shapes recall the glories of Alpland. On our left, the Sugarloaf stands. Sugarloaf is the name of the entrance to the bay. It stands like a giant sentinel to the metropolis of Brazil. The round and green summits of the Tres Hermanos that means three blood brothers, if you don't know. So I said it in Spanish, but Irmão is Portuguese, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Okay. The round and green summits of the Tres Hermanos are in strong contrast with the peaks of Corcovado and Tijuca. I've never heard of these places, probably because they go by different names. Oh, that's how old this book is. While the Gavia rears its huge snail-like form, and the other half rides the fading line of mountains which extends to the very borders of the Rio Grande do Sul. On the right, another lofty range commences near the principal fortress, which commands the entrance of the bay, and forming curtain-like ramparts, reaches away in picturesque lands to the bold promontory well known to all South Atlantic navigators as Cape Frio. Far through the opening of the bay, and in some places towering even above the lofty coast barrier, can be discovered the blue outline of the distant Organ Mountains, whose lofty pinnacles will at once suggest the origins of their name. The general effect is truly sublime. Sublime means good. Not good. Sublime means like fantastic. But as the vessel draws nearer to the bold shore, and we see on the sides of the double mount which rises in the near of Santa Cruz the peculiar bright left woods of Brazil, with here and there purple blooming of the quarsama tree, and when we observe what the snake-like cacti and rich flowering precipitous sides of the Sugarloaf, and as we single out in every nook and crevice no evidences of a genial and prolific climb. Emotion. Climb means emotion, I guess. It's spelled C-L-I-M-E. Before overwhelmed by vastness of outline, now unburdens itself in every conceivable exclamation of surprise and admiration. The breeze is wafting us onward as we pass beneath the white walls of the Santa Cruz fortress, a black soldier dressed in a light uniform of enviable coolness to the entering mariner. Immediately, as enormous trumpet is protruded from the side of the cupola, and our good ship is saluted by a stentorian voice, demanding in Portuguese English the usual questions put to vessels sailing into a foreign port. We soon glide from under the frowning guns of Santa Cruz, and are just abreast Fort Lage, celebrated as the first spot of the bay ever inhabited by civilized man. I'm rolling my eyes. This was written in the 1860s, so I mean, you know, we gotta be kind of patient with our perception of things. Anyway. Okay. The scene which now opens before us is exquisitely beautiful. Far to our left, beneath the sugar loaf, but nearer to the city, is the fortress of St. John, bright amid the surrounding verdure, V-E-R-D-U-R-E. I do not know what that word is. Passing through a fleet of gracefully shaped canoes and market boats manned by half-clad blacks, we cling to the steep right-hand coast, which soon precipitously terminates and reveals to us the lovely little bay of Jurujaba, the 5-fathom bay of the English. Again, looking to the opposite side, beyond St. John, we have a glimpse over the graceful cove of Botafogo, the Bay of Naples in miniature, and is the pretty suburb of the same name, which seemed like a jewel set between the smooth white beach. And the broad circle of living green. So here they have a picture of sugar loaf, I guess. Wow, this is so beautiful. Okay, I'll let you guys see it. They had photographs back then, right? I don't know. I'm not sure. You guys see that? I think it's really cool. Anyway. Alrighty. So I think we're gonna leave it there. It's been half an hour already. So if you guys would like to see more of that, I would love to read it. I'm gonna gauge you guys' reaction to this video, and if I'm seeing, you know, positive things, I'll, like, yeah, see it more, but I can see how it'd be kind of boring, but I can also see how being read to is calming and relaxing. Anyway, guys, if you guys don't want to read it with me, I'll read it by myself. That was Brazil and the Brazilians, 1868. That's crazy. I love you all. Oh, I'm gonna show you my shirt. It's a Looney Tunes shirt.